8 minutes and 46 seconds. 8 minutes and 46 seconds. A lot can happen in that short span of time. And on May 25th, a lot did. And for George Floyd, 8 minutes and 46 seconds was the time it took for him to lose his life while the world witnessed. Early in the morning on March 13th, 26-year-old Breonna Taylor was sleeping in her bed. And Louisville Metro Police Department, executing a search warrant, entered her home and ultimately shot and killed her with 8 bullets. If you do a quick internet search, you'll find many stories of these things happening in our Black communities. And right now, we have a movement, Black Lives Matter. Now, Black Lives Matter didn't say that all lives do not matter. They're saying right here, right now, this is the issue that we are facing, that all lives do matter. And this moment in time, it seems as though there are some things that are imbalanced in our society. And with that quick internet search, if you care to do so, you'll see this disproportionate number of violence in the Black community by people of power, from unwarranted traffic stops to conviction rates to lengthy prison sentences. The Black community statistically experiences a higher percentage of all of these than any other race in America. And yes, you can always find populations that are at odds with one another, that don't have seeming equal rights. But right here, right now, the matter at hand is our African American community. And what do we do about it? Well, first of all, we have to look at what's really happening. We have people in power that maybe should not be in power, broken systems, and miseducation. What it's saying to us, if we read Ephesians chapter 6, verse 12, it says, "For we wrestle not against flesh and blood, but against the principalities, against powers, rulers of the darkness of this world, against spiritual wickedness in high places." And Abraham Lincoln went on to say, "Nearly all men can stand adversity, but if you want to test a man's character, give him some power. Give him some power and see what he does. You will see the true character of somebody come out the moment you say that he's in charge of someone or something." And that doesn't mean that everybody in power is at fault. That just means individuals, when placed in that position, can sometimes lose their mind and bump their heads and believe that they have the authority to do something, to take something, to misplace something that belongs to someone else. Remember, our life is not of our own. We have a shared existence, a shared experience in this world. And the moment we say that I am better than you or that is higher than this, we start to break the system. And when we don't see it, we start to perpetuate it. And so right now we have a lot of individuals using their voice, because that's what this is. It's voices that have gone unheard for too long. And not to say that rioting or violence is the answer or the solution to this complex problem. But what we are saying is that it's time to stand and use our voices. When we see something, we say something, we do something. Now, there's a lot of speculation of what this all means and how did we get here. This is not the 1960s, this is the year 2020. In the Bible, we read about generational curses. And I give a definition that may be quite different than the intention of what it was meant in the Bible. But a generational curse is when we take the beliefs of our ancestors and apply them to current situations. Some outworn ideas, some outworn beliefs. And this can show up in family feuds. You have the Hatfields and McCoys. Years and years, they went battling in each other, generation after generation, each one of them following the footsteps of what their ancestors did, probably not even knowing why they were doing what they were doing. And then we also, another definition or another example would be a family dis-ease. Oh, that my daddy had diabetes, and so I'd get it, cancel, or whatever it is. So we carry on these generational curses or these generational beliefs. Every single time we repeat something to one of our children, because they repeat it to their children, they will reflect back on the things that you have told them today, many years after you are gone. And race relations can be and is a very difficult subject to touch, to fix. Now, I grew up in a family where my mom was black, my dad was white, and you can see the wonderful picture of Johanna Kelly looking really entertained as my mom blew out her birthday candles for her 35th birthday. But there was one thing I really appreciated growing up in a racial family, is that when I look at my mother, when I look at my father, I don't see their color. And I've always asked myself, other people see these colors, and why don't I? It's because my judgment is not there. When I look at those that love me and whom I love, I release any judgment, any thought, anything that would prevent me from being at one with them. And it's easy probably, or easier maybe to do it with our friends or our families, but what about the guy down the street or your next door neighbor or the person at the doctor's office? Can you apply this non-judgment? Don't take your generational view of what a person is because of their color or because of what they look like. If you can release that or suspend it for that moment, you will see something a lot bigger and brighter than yourself in them. You will see your connectedness and your oneness with them. And how do we get there in these times where the world would tell us that out there is against us, that we have lots of fighting to do? Well, in Ephesians chapter 6, verse 13 through 17, it says, put the full armor of God on. Whenever you are standing in front of something, some adversarial energy or what seems to be an us against them, that first of all, put on your waist with truth. Clothe your waist in truth. The breastplate of righteousness, put that on. Prepare your feet with the gospel of peace, the shield of faith, the helmet of salvation, and the sword of spirit, which is the word of God. To clothe yourself spiritually. Because in the end, this is what it boils down to, is we forgot about our spiritual connection with one another. It exists. It is there. Can we have the eyes to see it and the ears to hear it? Can we release enough judgment and enough past thoughts about what somebody told us another group was like? Can we educate our children? Can we teach them to see just God in all things? And when we see something, can we finally use this voice that God gave us to say something? Can we do that? Can you do that? Can I do that? Let us ask these questions, because these will be the questions that our children will wonder why we didn't ask. They will wonder why the world is in the state that it is. Is it because we didn't use our voice when we were supposed to? Is it because we didn't say something when something needed to be said? Ask yourself these questions. Think long and hard on them. Are you ready to give up everything you know about somebody you think you know in order to see them for who they truly are? Are you ready?
In the midst of what we've been living in recently, I am heartened that I have begun to see in the news imagery that white people are stepping up, that gatherings and protests and rallies have more and more white faces, often behind masks, but white faces present in these gatherings. For me, this moment has begun to generate the energy of feeling different this time, that this one life lost feels different than earlier circumstances, and that thankfully, perhaps lasting change will arise. Not just the immediate response of enough is enough, that cry that never quite coalesces into energy that moves into action. But I believe something larger is truly afoot in our world, and it is up to people of good conscience to see that the energy moves forward positively, lastingly. Maybe in the face of watching all of these recent events, you say to yourself, where in the world is God? Where is God in this world? I know. I mutter that statement to myself sometimes too. And what I remember is the wisdom from A Course in Miracles. The only thing missing from any situation is what I am not giving. So when I want to mutter about something I see on the news, when I want to whine that somebody needs to step forward and do something, I remember that statement. Because I'm the one that needs to be stepping forward and doing something. The only thing missing from what I see, the only thing missing from life is that which I myself am not giving, or doing, or being. The only thing missing is the power of love. We know that when love is present, life works. Doesn't always look like it's working right now. There's the news, and there's social media, and there's just this huge noise of all that's going on. But when I look out and I perceive, when I observe the chaos that seems apparent in our society right now, I get excited. Okay, maybe there's some other feelings in the way first, but I get excited because I understand the principle that when there's chaos, something wants to be birthed. Something is calling for a new path. And I know, because I've seen it, I've felt it, I've experienced it, that the chaos I'm in is my opportunity to birth something new. You remember our ministry partner, Gregory Ruard. Gregory shared this wisdom with us last spring when he was here. Conflict is the systemic response to new information. Well, the information is pouring in at rapid pace, and we may feel in conflict. But what I know is when I start paying attention, and then I give the power of my intention, then I notice that something is percolating and wants to arise. And at first, must arise in me. This past week in one of our daily prayer calls, someone posed the question, in the midst of all this, what would God say? It's my belief that the infinite creative power and intelligence would say this to us all. Remember, I can use anything for good. I will turn any negative circumstance to a blessing if you will let me partner with you in the midst of what you see. The infinite power of life can transform any circumstance for our greater good. That can only happen through us. God can only express in the world when we show up as our most noble selves. And so in the midst of the chaos, we are called to be and do the most noble we have to offer. I believe the infinite creative power, the infinite intelligence would say to us, life works when the power of love is present. And how does love show up in the midst of what I see right now? Where is love in the middle of this mess? Oh, the only thing missing from any situation is that which I am not giving. Infusing love into this situation can change our view into transforming, power-forming energy. We can shift from the micro level of life, like an incident that happened on 38th Street in Minneapolis just before sunset on May 25th, to the macro level focus in our world that has the power to move that world, to move our city, our own community. Ooh, it has the power to move me. The only thing missing in any situation is what I am not giving. I admit I don't always know what to do in the face of this or any tragic situation, any chaotic experience, any too big event of life. But I am absolutely certain that we begin right here, right now, and we can make a change. I begin right here, right now, so that I can contribute to that change. Because I cannot hope to change the world what I have not transformed in my own heart. So how about we begin where we sit right at this moment? Some of us are studying the book, You Can't Sleep Through Your Awakening, and thank God that's true, because we need the awakening right now. And in our reading this week, the author speaks to us of the power of forgiveness, the power of self-love, and most importantly, the power of self-compassion. These are transforming activities for our life. We begin by healing our own self first. Then we have a healing to offer the world. Healing and compassion are the work done in our hearts. A simple, practical, spiritual practice is breathing in through your heart, imagining that you are the breath moving in and out of your body through your heart. And when you focus on the heart, continue breathing gently, and then call to mind an image or a memory that brings you to a felt sense of gratitude or a felt sense of effervescent joy. Then you can be in the place where you will hear your own inner wisdom. This practice of centering the breath and the heart together with gratitude releases physical, emotional, and spiritual tension. It centers us in the state of harmony. So in that space, let's imagine that we are power forming with the practice of focused intention right now for our world in this moment, and share some affirmative statements of the truth we choose to see, the truth we choose to contribute and create. So I'll invite you to center in your heart and hold this thought as I express them. With every breath I take, may all beings be awakened to the divinity in all life. With every thought I think, May my mind be aligned with the mind of God. May I think the thoughts of God for the good of all beings. May these eyes see and recognize the divine nature of every heart. May I be aware of the Christ presence in all beings. May my words contribute to the well-being and healing of all. With every step I take, may all beings choose to honor and respect every individual and all of life. Through my every action, may heaven emerge that much sooner for the well-being of all. We each stand at a point where we get to choose our path forward. The path forward as community will begin with our own individual forward movement. Folks, the airlines have it right. Put on your own oxygen mask first so that we equip ourselves to serve in greater ways in the world. Beginning with our own transforming, power-forming actions in our life, we will write the surprise ending of this story. We will, as our Reverend Denise says, we'll get over our story and get on with the glory. We'll get over the story that no longer serves us. We'll get over the story about all the past hurts. And we'll choose the glory of moving forward. We let go of the past because the solutions we fervently desire cannot be found in that territory. We need to create from the energy of what pulls us forward. What we envision is a new world. Rather than attempt to create yet again from what prevents our past from reoccurring, we want to be pulled forward by a new vision. This was Einstein's wisdom. We cannot solve a problem with the same thinking that created it. This moment, we choose. We choose our path forward. Some years ago, an inspired gentleman in this community called a group of spiritual friends together to create this expression of a unity creed. What I will read to you is a path that I choose forward. I choose this as a credo, that to which I give my heart. I believe in one God, the creator of heaven and earth, who is the light of all lights, the spirit of all spirits, living within and without all creation. I believe in the reign of God and in the love, equality, justice, and peace for which it stands. And I believe in Jesus, who proclaimed and enacted and embodied its spirit and taught us to live as the visible manifestation of the invisible God. He taught us to help the poor, the helpless, the hopeless. He died because the world was not fully ready to live his message. I believe in the ability to regret inappropriate behavior as well as the ability to redirect the powers of those behaviors into appropriate, meaningful reflections of the God who is love. I believe in life everlasting, that the journey is as important as the destination, that all living things express the glory and the wonder of God. Hallelujah. Amen. And so it is.
And we join together today as one in humanity, one in God. We bow to the divinity of each one of our brothers and sisters in the Christ. So today, I bend a knee for all of those that have lost their lives in senselessness, in not feeling connected because of misguided power. I take a knee, we take a knee, because we honor the divinity in each person, in George Floyd, in Breonna Taylor, and Eric Gardner and the many others that came before us and whose voice we did not hear until it was too late. And we stand. We stand for equality, we stand for humanity, and we stand for peace. God bless. We are one.